HomeKit in iOS 12 may not see the huge overhaul we saw with iOS 11, but there's still a lot of new features and we're going to check them out. Welcome everyone, it is Andrew here for AppleInsider, and I am really excited to walk through everything that has changed in Apple's forthcoming iOS 12 update, and we'll even touch quickly on macOS. So starting off here in the Home app, one small change is that Details has now been switched to Settings whenever you go into an accessory. It kind of made sense for basic accessories because you just kind of were viewing details on them. But as notifications became more in play and accessories like the HomePod and other AirPlay speakers showed up, it is more like Settings instead of just Details. So that wordage has been switched just a little bit. Inside of HomePod, the personal request option has been moved. It is now inside of the new settings panel of the HomePod, where previously it was in like the overall home details. Speaking of those home details, by the way, there's been a little change to the icon. It now makes a lot more sense. It is now an actual home icon, whereas before it was more or less kind of like a compass arrow. Inside of these home settings, we also have a whole new section for notifications. Now, all of this is information that has been around before. You just had to go into the individual accessories to enable them. But now you can control all of these notifications from one spot. It just makes it a little bit easier for your windows, your doors and locks, and of course your different sensors to manage all of that in one place. Of all the features coming to iOS 12, one of the ones that we are most excited about here at AppleInsider is Siri Shortcuts. Not only can you use these for a bunch of other features, but you can tie them into HomeKit as well. So you can create these shortcuts to do pretty much anything you want, whether it's visiting a website, setting an alarm, viewing some photos, texting someone, all of those different things can be done. But you can also tie in HomeKit Scenes. So items that maybe aren't HomeKit now could be, like those using the forward pass with their cars, or those using a pet meter, all that can then be tied right into HomeKit with just a Siri invocation. Of course, you can also tie in any of your HomeKit scenes that you may already have set up inside of the Home app. So when you say going home, it could run a HomeKit scene, it could text someone, it could do all sorts of things all at the same time. As a bit of a background feature, we also have a brand new MFI Partner Dev Kit, which should make it a whole lot easier to manufacture HomeKit accessories. It handles a lot of the HomeKit work for you, and you can get functional prototypes of HomeKit integration within a week, with release cycles dropping from maybe a year to only a few months. We've seen a lot of HomeKit accessories get really delayed, whether it's the forthcoming Eve Room 2 or the HomeKit integration on the Ring doorbell cams. Hopefully this updated MFI Partner Dev Kit will really smooth that along and get accessories to market a whole lot faster. iOS 11 brought several new types of accessories, like sprinklers with the Eve Aqua or the Orbit Beehive, and we also got AirPlay 2 speakers which can be added in. But in iOS 12, we are getting now support for remotes. What we can actually do with remotes is still a little bit unknown. There's a lot of question marks up in the air about what we can and can't do. But basically it should allow manufacturers like Harmony and Control4 to integrate HomeKit and Siri into their remotes. We really have to wait a little bit longer to see what we'll actually be able to do with remotes, but it will be extremely useful for Apple TV owners right out of the gate. At a minimum, these HomeKit remotes will be able to completely replace the Siri remote that came with the Apple TV, and at most, it could offer a whole lot of functionality to smart home owners. I also really wanted to quickly mention macOS Mojave. While it's not really iOS 11, it does have an impact for any iOS users who are also using a Mac, and that is the ability to actually control devices now from your Mac, whether you're using Siri or the brand new Home app. The interface will look instantly familiar because it is basically a port of what we saw over on the iPad. So they basically took that iPad app, wrapped it up, and put it here in macOS Mojave. And at least first looks, it works pretty well. You can do nearly everything that you could do over on the iOS side of things here on the Mac. Whether that's toggling lights, creating automations, making new scenes, or viewing your live cameras. But there are some odd limitations that we noticed as we kind of started to play with it a little bit more. For instance, you definitely cannot add an accessory, even though the Mac does have a camera built in. You also can't do anything that requires monitoring people, whether it's creating automations or scenes or triggers. So if I wanted something to run at a certain time when someone walked in, or turn lights off when someone leaves, you can't do that here. If we go to Add Scene or Add Automation, click on Add Automation in the top right hand corner, the top two options are completely grayed out for when people arrive or when people leave. Any of these kind of people gates, person gates, perimeter gates, all of that just is not going to work here on the Mac, which is odd. Even ones that are just based on the time of day. For instance, at sunset, if people are home, I want lights to turn on. but that is not an option to set up here. You'd have to create that over on your iPhone or your iPad. Of course, the Mac doesn't have that persistent data location of your phone, but it still should be able to be created because you can create automations on your phone based on someone else's location. And if you have HomeKit at all, you clearly have an iOS device. So those gates definitely should be enabled on the Mac, but maybe they will be by the time this is actually released. iOS 12 has a whole lot going on. There's really a lot to love for smart home owners. While we can see some of those ramifications now in the beta form, we're really going to have to wait till iOS 12 comes out and Siri Shortcuts to see the full implications.
If you enjoyed this video, like it and hit that subscribe button. Also, check out our price guide, which makes it extremely easy to find the best deals on Apple products updated daily. Be sure to follow us on social media, and we'll see you in the next video.